What up, y'all? It's Chris. I'm back in the house. I haven't done a video in a long time, and I promised to do a coronavirus video. So I'm going to do that coronavirus video. And that's why I have the face mask on, so that when I look at the thumbnail, I can remember that this is the video about coronavirus. It's almost over right now anyway, by the way. I'll just let you know. I feel like the quarantine is almost over. In the beginning, when I would go to work, when the coronavirus quarantine started, traffic was at a minimum. And now I feel like traffic is back to normal. I have to wait. I was almost late to work the other day. When I go to the stores, there's supposed to be social distancing, but there's so many people that you just can't do it. And I think people are getting tired of having to wait in the social distance line because it makes waiting to get out of the store so much longer. But anyway, anything I say from this point on is not medical advice, because I'm not a doctor and I'm not licensed to give professional medical advice. So if you take any of the advice, even if it may be true, and you act upon it and you get sick, you have no legal claim against me, because I told you from the get-go I'm not a doctor. I'm only going to relate to you what I've learned. I do work in the medical profession, but I do not want that to interfere with my commentaries. So I keep my work anonymous, and I never mention what work I am connected with, so that any of my political views can't be construed as views of the company. So again, another disclaimer is that whatever I say here is my view and my view alone, and any companies that I may work for or be affiliated with, or even just organizations that I may be affiliated with, do not share necessarily the same views. Okay, that's out of the way. So what is a coronavirus? They call it the coronavirus because corona means crown. I believe that's in Spanish, corona. That's why your Corona beer is the crown beer. Now, why do they call that the coronavirus? Why do they have it a crown virus? Because the way the virus looks, it's a ball with little, almost like crown pieces sticking out of it. Looks like a giant spike ball. And what are those spikes? Those spikes are like anchor points, okay? Those little anchor points float around, and when they float around in your body, the virus uses those anchor points to find docks. You know, it's like a boat. A boat that's coming into a bay needs to find a dock so that it can tie up to the dock and unload its cargo, okay? So a virus functions in the same way. It floats through the harbor of your body looking for a dock. And your cells of your body have little docks. They have little receptor sites that may be shaped like this, just to say, right? And the coronavirus is shaped with a little ball corona part, and it finds the socket. And let me put my phone down for this so you can see what I'm saying. It has the socket, and the coronavirus has the little ball. The ball goes into the socket, and cling! They link up, and the ship is docked. And now that the ship is docked, what happens? The coronavirus unleashes its cargo, which is a strand of RNA. And that strand of RNA goes into your cell, and it finds the ribosome, which is a protein factory, okay? And it quickly attaches to the ribosome and the endoplasmic reticulum, where proteins are made, and takes over that factory. And instead of that factory making more of you, like when you get hurt, you cut yourself, your cells need to make more of yourself in order to heal, right? If they don't, that never heals, and you die, right? Or it bleeds out, or you get infection. In other words, it's never closed. It never makes more of your cells. So your body needs to make more cells in order to heal that damaged part of your body. Well, the virus comes in, it hijacks that system, and it uses your system to make more of its own garbage, okay? Makes more virus. All right? Now, I find this funny in the system of economics that we have in the world today. The world became a globalist society. In other words, we had companies. These companies were like cells, right? They produced goods and services in the Western world. They were capitalists. They made money. They got a benefit for benefiting society by making the goods and services that society needed. Well, what happened? The resources within a certain country that that company needed in order to make those goods and services ended up getting too expensive because, only a few countries were free enough to provide those resources, and everybody was going to those countries and using up those resources. Well, globalization comes along because of Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush, who is dead. They decided to make the world, one giant united new world order. Notice the word new in there. So they made the new world order, which is globalism. There's a new order to it, so you should get used to it. It's something that they kind of say with other things too. They change the way we do things in life. Your normal life may be happy. You go home, you're happy. You have a nice job. You have good health care. You go with your kids. You go to school, da-da-da-da-da-da. They change the whole order of your life all of a sudden, and they then call it the new normal. Notice that word new again, right? Whenever they throw that new in there, it means we are changing your life without your choice and your approval, and you're just going to have to accept that that's the new normal. Well, guess what? We've got this coronavirus, and it is now called the new or novel coronavirus. Take what you want out of that. I'm not necessarily saying that the globalist, communist entities of the world created this virus to destroy our lives, but I'm kind of implying that. So anyway, going back to the New World Order, right? George Bush and Bill Clinton and then the other George Bush son, when they all became president, decided to make this new world, this world where everybody is one world, and they opened up the world to trade. They started making these, quote, free trade agreements. And companies started seeking resources outside of Western world countries because the Western world resources were expensive. The labor was expensive because people wanted higher pay. They also wanted benefits. It's no different than today. Everybody wants freebies. They want more. And they don't realize it undermines them when they do that because companies want to make more money. And so they can't make more money when they're paying it out to their employees. So they end up looking for cheaper resources. They either lay off their workers or they do what's called outsourcing. They go to another country where the resources are cheaper. Thus, we have China. The people in China are used to being slaves because they live in a communist culture. So a lot of businesses went to China thinking that that was the best place for them to continue doing business because the labor costs were cheaper. I mean, before that, people could barely live on their own in communist China. Now all you have these businesses coming in, they hire these people. The people make more money. They can actually afford to buy a bicycle or maybe an apartment, some clothes. And so China willingly brought these businesses in, but China ended up being like a virus because now these businesses were in China, and the communists in China were like a virus. The communists started to get into the businesses that used to be American based. Now they're based in China, and the communists start threatening the businesses. You're going to do this. We're going to allow you to do business here if you will collect data for us, or you will spread this message, or you will stop saying free thinking things that we don't approve of. And so communism, like a virus, infected our business culture and therefore our economy. And it kind of hijacked the world. And with this coronavirus, we're seeing that again, too, because China also hijacked the World Health Organization. China gives quite a bit of money to the World Health Organization, even though the United States is number one. China is very close behind it. And they influence the director general is a communist and a communist sympathizer, of course, because he's communist. And so President Trump recently cut funding to the World Health Organization because World Health Organization is now a virus. All right, so that's just side notes because I haven't done videos in a long time, so I'm trying to bring everybody up to speed by what's going on. So we have all these global entities that are trying to tell us how to react to this coronavirus. And because they're communist and they're authoritarian and power-hungry and power-seeking and control-seeking and destructive of freedom, they want to use this virus as an opportunity to force people to check in with them. How would they do that? Well, first of all, you force people to stop functioning in society. You create a new normal. And so that new normal, because of the new virus, is go home, stay separated from other people who can tell you the truth, lock yourself in your house, and don't expose yourself to anybody else so you don't catch the coronavirus. But in reality, they just want to censor everybody. They don't want people meeting together because meeting causes you to communicate with somebody. And when you communicate with somebody, you share ideas. And when you share ideas, you influence their thinking. And communists don't want that. They're like a virus. They would rather you reproduce their idea than begin to become free-thinking and develop your own ideas. So like a virus, they take over your cells, your brain cells, everything else. And so they lock people in their rooms, they force them out of their jobs, and then they create these designated essential labor jobs and then non-essential. The non-essentials lost their jobs. I was one of the non-essentials, and I was very fortunate that God watches out for me because I found a job that made me an essential worker where I only missed 1 week of paycheck. So I did get behind in some of my bills, but not too bad. And I'm now getting back up to speed, which I'm very thankful to God for. But many people haven't been able to do that. They are suffering. They are out of work. They're out of money. Their bills have piled up. They're on a thin string of survival and just holding on by a thread which could possibly break. And now the government is telling you, if you want to get out, you have to get a vaccine. And that vaccine will supposedly make you safer to rejoin society. Well, vaccine doesn't cure the virus. Supposedly, it gives you exposure to it so your body develops immunity. This is a great con. It's a great con story that people have accepted because the reality of it is there are so many viruses out there, so many infectious diseases, that the amount of vaccines that you would have to take in order for your body to develop the complete immunity that it needs to be illness-free would kill you. It's impossible for you to receive the amount of vaccinations that they claim will prevent you from getting the virus. I'm the type who thinks you should find a cure for the virus. That no matter what the strain of the virus is, even if it mutates, the same basic structure of a coronavirus is the same. Whether it's a new coronavirus or an old coronavirus, it's still a coronavirus. So find a cure for coronavirus or viruses, and you will not have to take a vaccine. Whereas the vaccine is like, we're guessing what mutations might come into your body, and we're going to try to expose you to those possible mutations so that you develop your own immunity inside, and then when you're encountering them, you might or might not get them. How many of you got a flu shot and then you got the flu? I thought that flu shot, that vaccine was supposed to prevent you from getting it. It didn't. That's because vaccines are garbage. And the people who tell you they're not garbage and tell you that there are studies to prove they're not garbage are the same people who make the vaccines. So there's a conflict of interest. If you make a vaccine and then you pay for a study to prove that the vaccine works, those studies don't prove anything. That's like me pointing a gun at you, telling you to give me your wallet, and saying, I'm going to do a study to prove that this is good for you. And then I pay some money to do a study to show that when I rob you at gunpoint, it's good for you, it's healthy for you. So I've got all the evidence to prove it works. Who did the study? Well, the pharma companies did the studies, and they also make the vaccines. That's called a conflict of interest. Everything is conflicting. The interest only benefits the one party. It doesn't benefit you. And so these vaccines are really bad for people. They're very dangerous. And I'm an anti-vaxxer. I haven't had a vaccine in a while, except for work. And I'm very healthy. Even before I got this healthcare work and got my vaccines, I was very healthy for not having vaccines in a long, long time. So a lot of this is a con artist game. There are 2 drugs in particular right now that are showing major promise with the coronavirus, but you don't hear the media talking about it because many on the media are against your finding a cure. They want this coronavirus to get into your system and to continue to replicate. Some of the symptoms of the coronavirus is that it doesn't show up for almost a month. 2 weeks to a month. Some people it doesn't show up for 2 weeks. Some people it doesn't show up for a month. And all that while you may, in the first 2 weeks or first month, whatever, however long it takes for the virus to actually show that you're sick, you may have no symptoms. And even though you may have no symptoms, you can still spread the virus. They say you're contagious. This virus is very real. I want you to understand that. It is a real virus. And I believe it was a lab-created virus. China may have stolen that information from the United States about the virus. They may have even stolen the biological material, the virus itself, from educational laboratories in the United States and engineered it to be a weapon. And then because China has such low health standards and horrible ways of handling hazardous materials, I believe that maybe a lab worker got infected, didn't realize it because the symptoms don't show up for 2 weeks to a month. That lab worker left the lab, went out into society, and the virus is highly contagious because it's been weaponized. So they went around spreading it, had no idea. China probably had no clue how many people were getting infected, and it's exponential. It's like a nuclear explosion. 1 infects 2, 2 infect 4, 4 infect 8, 8 infect 16, and then it starts to blow up. Because that's only a linear explosion. You're not thinking about all those other people that these other people are infecting. And so China, before they admitted that they had a problem, and before their communist sympathizing World Health Organization admitted there was a problem, let people travel all around the world for a long time, probably longer than they even know. They admitted it in December, and by then, I'm sure it was already spread far and wide, probably for at least a month or maybe even 2 months. And many people in the United States probably already had it and we didn't even know. I might have even had it with my family because I got really sick in early December and I ended up not getting better until the end of February. That's almost 3 months, or it is 3 months of sickness. And I remember having a horrible cough. There were times when it didn't produce anything. And then there was a period of time where I felt like I had pneumonia, where I was coughing. And it hurt so badly when I was coughing that I had to figure out a new way to cough so that I wouldn't generate so much pressure that I was getting massive headaches. Because I was getting huge headaches. and I had a high fever. My kids all had it. My wife had it. And we were all in the house for a long time together. I remember my throat and my lung feeling really itchy and sore. And these are all the symptoms of the coronavirus. The only symptom I didn't mention is that there are usually lesions that they were or like growths or damaged portions in the lung that doctors were finding when they would inspect people who came in complaining of this COVID-19. All right, let's clarify that also. There is the virus, and then there is the condition that it causes, okay? So let's look at a virus we're all very familiar with. There's a virus called HIV, right? HIV is a sexually transmitted virus that has been in the news for well over a decade. I can't recall how many years, but it's probably been 20, maybe even almost 30 years that we know about HIV. And HIV steadily breaks down your immune system, right? It slowly does things to make your immune system depressed, right? Or less efficient, doesn't function as well. And then at some point, it stops your immune system from protecting you from anything. And at that point, you have a suppressed or depressed immune system. And that condition is known as AIDS. So when your immune system no longer works, you have AIDS. So let's look at this coronavirus. It's called the new or novel coronavirus. They call it nCoV SARS-2, okay? Or SARS-nCoV-2, I believe is the designation. I have to go back and look at it again. But it is a coronavirus. It is SARS-related. It is a respiratory, arrested respiratory illness. And that virus gets into your system, and for the first 2 weeks to a month, you may feel fine, but you've got that virus in you. Just like with HIV, for your first infection, you may be fine, but gradually you'll start to see things that will show that your immune system is broken down. Same thing with the SARS or the coronavirus. You have that virus, and then over time, you develop what's known as COVID-19. COVID-19 are the symptoms because your condition is now, your body's broken down from the virus. You're coughing. You cough heavily without any real productive mucus coming out. You have a sore throat, many say. Some talk of headaches. Some say they have found, like doctors have found lesions in people's lungs. I'm repeating some of this stuff, but it's just so you know the difference between HIV and nCoV, right? So that you know the difference between AIDS and COVID-19. So the condition is your system is broken down and you have bad respiratory depression, and you're basically your respiration, your breathing doesn't work very well. A lot of the times your lungs get damaged so badly that you end up bleeding to death. And your oxygen exchange through your lungs fails. Now, some doctors question whether this is really a coronavirus causing that, or if it's some other disease, like Legionnaire's disease, or another similar type disease where your lungs break down, fill with fluid, and no oxygen is exchanged from the air to your cells, and your cells need oxygen to survive. And so they end up dying because there's no oxygen exchange. Some also believe it could be a disease that's septic, meaning it's an infection of your blood. And it goes in and it affects your hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the iron. It contains iron, which bonds with oxygen. So it damages your hemoglobin so that you cannot take oxygen out of the air. And then again, your body dies because you can't get oxygen. So a lot of times you'll look on TV and you'll see the early videos of the coronavirus where people are they're sick, they cough, and then all of a sudden you just see them go where they can't breathe, and then they collapse and they die. They die on the street or whatever. And that supposedly was the coronavirus. So that's, or at least that's what they consider COVID-19. All right. I don't believe that that is the coronavirus. I believe there's another disease that's going on out there, and they're using, there are multiple diseases, I think, that are bioengineered, but the main one is the coronavirus. And they're using these multiple diseases as a means to steal our freedoms and our rights, our ability to assemble, to protest, to communicate freely as free speech, to freely roam around the country, to share ideas, to have a religion, freedom of religion. All these things are under attack. Freedom to bear arms, to have a human right to self-defense. So your Second Amendment is under attack. They're using all of these things to destroy our rights. Now the Democrats are also talking about doing ballot harvesting and mail-in voting because they believe that they're going to keep you from going to the polls with this quarantine. And so with the ballot harvesting, they can go in and just pick up your ballot and without an ID, turn it into the polling station. Well, what if they know you're a Republican and they pick up your ballot? You think that a Democratic ballot harvester is going to turn in your absentee ballot? Heck no, they won't. They're not required to have ID either, so there's no way to identify them. They can steal your ballot, or they can make sure that they turn in all the Democrat ballots and just ignore the Republican ones. So in a lot of ways, many states have flipped blue because of these illegal practices. A mail-in ballot would be the same way. Allowing people to mail in their ballots would allow for voter fraud because they could use dead people to vote, and you would never have to prove that you're alive because there's no ID being presented, no social security number, no way to identify these people. So, all right. Well, the way I see it is we're hopeful now. I believe the world is opening up again. I believe people are getting upset about it. They want to go back to work. They want to go to the restaurants. They want to go to the mall. They want to be able to go out and go to the playground, go to Disneyland, go to, all these things that they're being prevented from doing. I went to the park to do this video, and I'm looking out at the park, and they have police taped the playground where the kids are usually at, and it's vacant. They have the basketball court, and the hoops have all been removed, so you can't play basketball. I see a couple people out here playing soccer, but they brought their own cones so they could play soccer. And if the police show up, all they have to do is pick up the cones and the ball and run into the bushes and jump over the walls or whatever to get away from them so they can go home without being arrested or penalized. Nobody has a mask out here. I'm wearing the mask again just for the video, but I'm against these masks. They annoy the crap out of me. I hate wearing them for work. They don't even protect you. Let's get into that information. These masks don't protect you from anyone else coughing on you. See, as you can see when I exhale, you can see when I inhale, the mask moves. But if you look, there's holes all around my mask. Air gets in around there. So if there's a droplet of moisture that has coronavirus in it and I inhale, it'll go in around that space, go right to my mouth, to my nose, and go into my lungs and infect me. If I were really afraid of that. I'm not afraid of getting the virus because I've been sick before and I probably already got it, like I said before. And so I don't worry about that too much. The only reason I wear this is for all the psycho-liberals that get upset that you're not wearing that and you're not being courteous. And I'm a courteous person. I'm not doing it out of pressure that they're telling me I need to wear the mask. I just respect other people's rights because I want them to respect mine as well. I want liberals and leftists. I shouldn't say liberals because true liberals are like me. They love freedom. The leftists, who are like communists, socialists, want to control everything I do. They don't want me to have a gun because they don't like guns, so I shouldn't have them. But I don't want them to be like that. I want them to respect my rights, and I will respect theirs as well. They want me to wear a mask. I will wear a mask out of respect. And I want mutual respect. If they don't respect my rights, then things will change. If I start to see more oppression in terms of my gun rights, in terms of my religious liberties, in terms of my freedoms, my voting rights, it's all over. Since the system will no longer function for me, I will no longer function civilly within a system, because the civil system has broken down. And when law and order break down, you have chaos. Now, communists want that. The New World Order, or Novus Ordo Seclorum, means that they get order from chaos. So they create chaos where your normal life is destroyed, and then they recreate a new world that you must accept as the new normal, and they go doing things that way. I'm not willing to accept a new normal. And there are a lot of things that I've accepted from globalism that I think are kind of cool. And there are a lot of things about globalism I like. There are some things about socialism that can work if people are good, but that requires people to be good-natured and honest. And communists are not that way. They're dishonest. So they take advantage of things. It would be great to live in a community where we have no money. Everybody just produces what we need for our survival, and we share it equally. That would be great. That's called a family. But that's not reality. The world does not function that way. There are evil people. There are thieves. There are people that will break into your home and steal your stuff. As long as we have thieves, I know that kind of a world of community and commune cannot exist. And I believe in globalism, but I believe only in globalism under Jesus Christ as the king and sovereign ruler of this world. Why? No human has the self-control and self-mastery to not abuse other human beings once you give them absolute power. And that's the difference between humans and God. God has self-mastery. God has omnipotence and omniscience, all-knowing, all-power. And we can trust him because he created us, and he gives us that freedom. He gives you the freedom to do bad things. That should tell you right there. The mere fact that we have evil people with an all-knowing and all-good God tells you the wisdom of God, that he does not try to control us by restricting us and restricting our will, our thinking, our speech. No, he gives you the choice to do what you want, and he also gives you the freedom to choose to follow him. You can choose to follow him, or you can choose to go somewhere else. But in choosing to go somewhere else, you truly go somewhere else, and it's called hell. All right, this video has gotten super long. I wanted to keep it short, but the problem with it is because I haven't done a video in a long time, keeping videos short is like virtually impossible. The only way for me to have short videos is if I break up each thought and idea separately. So I'm going to conclude with saying that the quarantine is almost over. We have hope. We have potential cures in hydroxychloroquine. We have potential cures in remdesivir. Remdesivir is an antiviral drug. It works on Ebola, and it's showing to have promise with coronavirus. Hydroxychloroquine, or chloroquine, is an anti-malarial drug. It was to fight the protozoa known as malaria, and it's showing very good promise. And so I believe that we are going to have cures for these viruses very soon. We may even have a cure for the entire viral world very soon. And the whole hope of mandatory vaccines, or even vaccines in general, will be over. And thank God for that. I hate vaccines. God, how stupid is it that people keep getting stabbed and things forced into their bodies over and over and over again just to prevent them from getting something naturally getting into their body and getting that forced on them. You're trying to use rape to prevent rape. Makes absolutely no sense. And here's a good question for you. Why is there no vaccine for the common cold? do a little research on that one. And with that, I will leave you. I need to get home. I need to get food for my kids. And curfew is about to kick in. So anyway, I wish you guys continued health, continued prosperity. If you like, it's your first time visiting this and you lasted through my long spiel, please give me a like if you think that this information is important. And subscribe to my channel so that you know the next time, whenever it is, I upload a video, you'll see it. But more, and also, you know, hit that bell notification button so that you can know and put it on all so that you know when I upload the video. And most importantly, share this video with anyone else that you think can benefit from this information. There's probably a lot of information I forgot because there's so much I've been doing research on this coronavirus. I am a pharmacy tech, so I do know quite a few drugs. I am not a pharmacist, so I don't know all the drugs. I also don't know all their contraindications and their indications and all their, you know, their adverse effects and their benefits. But I do know quite a few drugs based upon my education. So I am in the pharma world. I do know enough about that. I'm also an emergency responder and a medic, so I know basic first aid and CPR and resuscitation techniques and basic medical stuff as well. So if you're wondering what my qualifications are, those are my qualifications. But again, if you like this and you think people can benefit from this information, please share it with people that you know can benefit from it. And hopefully they're patient enough as you are to have listened through this entire spiel. If I can think of anything else that I didn't cover, I will be sure to come back and do a video. And hopefully now, with this long video, I can do a much shorter one and more targeted on specific information at that time. So thank you again for listening. Thank you for your patience. Thank you to all my supporters. And thank you to YouTube for deleting all my videos from over a year ago. Thank you. I really appreciate that you would censor me and take away my history in YouTube by doing so. You guys are a real punk ass of a company organization. And I have to thank Google for that too, because they bought out YouTube. So thanks, Google, for censoring all our free speech. We really, really appreciate that. And you guys are going to benefit greatly if you continue to censor free and independent people, because free and independent people are royalty. We're not like slaves where if you censor us, we will roll over and say, "Oh, that's great, master." No, you censor free and independent people, you better expect something coming. We will not tell you what it is because you want to censor us. You are the enemy, and we will not tell you anymore what we're going to do. But believe me, you will not enjoy it when you make us angry. You can consider that a threat. You can try to arrest me. You can try to do all kinds of things because of it. I don't care, because there will be more like me. And we're seeing it all around the United States and even the world, where people are protesting the way you authoritarian media, you authoritarian governments, you authoritarian people who just want to control everyone are being overbearing, and the people are getting sick of it, and they're standing up to you and protesting. And it's disgusting. And we're at war right now. If you don't think we're at war, you live in another world. You better wake up before they take your rights. They're going to take your rights. And that was my message to you. Thank you for listening. God be with you. Stay healthy, stay prosperous, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.